Landlords who want to buy a property and then rent it out have to typically use buy-to-let mortgages. So in this video, I want to summarize and break down what buy-to-let mortgages is, make it very simple and clear. Now, one thing you should know, I'm not a mortgage advisor. This video is just for information purposes that I hope it can guide you. Landlords who want to buy your property and then rent it out have to typically use buy-to-let mortgages. Now in this video, I want to summarize and break down what buy-to-let mortgages is like and make it very simple. Now one thing you should know, I'm not a mortgage advisor and this video is just for information purposes. Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Abbas Pradhan. I'm a property investor and I'm an owner of an estate agency called 10x Rising. On this channel, I share with you the insight of what we go through on a day-to-day basis that may help you on your property journey. So if you enjoy the content, please smash the like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next videos. So in this video, I want to break down the video into a couple of segments. The first one, who can get a buy-to-let mortgage? Second one, how do buy-to-let mortgages even work? Third one, how much borrowing can you take in your buy-to-let mortgage? And the fourth one, where can you get these buy-to-let mortgages? Further to that, I have a few tips that may help you in getting your mortgages. Right, so let's get into who can get a buy-to-let mortgage. Now, one thing you need to understand that getting a buy-to-let mortgage is quite different than buying a property that you're going to be living in as a homeowner. So a buy-to-let mortgage, lenders can consider that quite risky sometimes, so they will have a few conditions and requirements for you as a person who's going to be taking the borrowing to pass in order for them to grant you the mortgage. Now, the first thing is that, of course, this isn't always the case. These conditions will vary from lender to lender, but I'm just going to share all of this out to you from whatever we've experienced. A couple of lenders may want you to be a homeowner yourself. So that would be a criteria that, hey, if you want to get a mortgage under this property, we need you to be a homeowner. Second one, quite crucial, the lender will want to check your credit score. If you've got CCJs or you've got bad credit and you've not been paying back, that is quite kind of a red flag. So you want to make sure you're quite ahead and you're taking good care of your credit score, because that will be one of the requirements from a lender. The third one is that the lender will want to see what sort of earnings you have as a person looking to borrow that money. So for example, if you're looking to borrow, say, £171,000, I'm just making this number on top of my head. So say if you're looking to borrow £171,000 from a lender, so 171,000, and say perhaps you get a 5% interest rate on it, maybe because you have bad credit and you're not a homeowner and all the other criteria are not looking good. So they heavy load you with additional interest on top of it because they class it more risky. So say you're going to be paying 5%. So times 0.05. So that's 8,550. Divide by 12. So you're paying £712.50 a month. Just to go back to it, 171,000 is what you want to borrow. 5% is the interest rate they shot you with. So on a monthly basis, they're seeing you, they will be charging you an interest rate of £712. Now, what happens if the rent you're expecting off the property is just £700? What happens then? Well, clearly you're not making any profit now, so it might be a no-go. So they'll definitely want you to be earning a lot more as in salary. Or what if your rental income is $850, but because you're a first-time buyer, although they're seeing you make a small profit on it, they're still going to be concerned, saying, what if the person does not manage the property well and the tenant leaves? How are they going to be paying their interest payments? And that is, of course, if you're paying interest only. So they will, again, like I said, they will vary lender to lender, but generally they will want to see what sort of earnings you have other than you expecting from your rental income. The fourth criteria is that a lot of lenders will not lend after you've reached either the age of 70 or 75. So that may be a concern with some lenders depending on your age. So they will check that as well. The fifth criteria they have is that they will want to see what sort of deposit you have for the property. If it's a buy-to-let mortgage, generally they will lend 75% loan to value. So if the property value is £200,000 times 0.75, that is 150k they will borrow you. So they're going to expect you to have £50,000 as a deposit, and they might want to see a trail where's the money coming from. And the last criteria they have, which I've noticed almost all the lenders have is something they do as stress testing. They want to see that even though you've paid your mortgage payment, they want to see you make an additional 25% profit, just so they know they're covered in case the rent drops. They're slightly covered. If the interest rate goes up slightly, if you're on variable, they're still covered, because they really care about the money they're borrowing you first. So to give you an example, if the mortgage payment is, say, £700 a month, so they want to see you make 700 times 1.25. So they want the rent to be 875 minimum, so that you're paying them their interest rate first, their interest payments first, before you take your profit. So that is just to summarize who can get a buy-to-let mortgage. Now, how do buy-to-let mortgages work? They're not going to be very different to you using a mortgage as a homeowner. Just a few slight differences. First thing is that the interest rates will vary. They will of course be a bit more than what you would be paying as a homeowner. Now again, I'll make it clear that the interest rate for you to be paying as a buy-to-let mortgage will be very, very different to you buying a commercial property. That's a very separate aspect itself. We're just looking at buy-to-let mortgages today. So if you as a homeowner have been paying 1.89% as a homeowner, here you might be looking at paying 2.7 to 3%. However, if you've got no experience, you're not a homeowner, your salary is low, the rental income is low, they might even load you up with a further interest, 1 or 2% interest. So you're paying 4 or 5%. Again, it will vary from lender to lender, but that is one of the first differences that you will have from having a mortgage as a homeowner and a mortgage as a buy-to-let. The second difference is that they will expect you to have a deposit of minimum 25%. Now, some properties they might go to 30%. If it's commercial, they might even expect you 35 to 40%, depending on how risky they class that property as. However, as a homeowner, you can even pass as 5 to 10% deposit and then buy a property. The third difference is that, well, this is something that I personally do. Buy-to-let mortgages will offer you to pay interest only. Now, I utilize that. I do not pay back capital payments because I already expect the property price to be appreciating in the area that I buy. So I'm not going to be paying back the capital, the amount they borrowed me. I'm not paying back the principal because I'm already expecting the property value to increase. So my equity is already increasing in the property. So I just pay back the interest payments. So I have better cash flow to save for my contingencies or even to be investing in further properties. So coming to the question, how much can you borrow? If you recall earlier, we spoke about what the rent is. So they will firstly look at what rents you're achieving, and then based on that, they will do the stress test so they can see, hey, can you actually afford it or not? So based on that, you will know they will calculate how much they can borrow you. Second thing is they will expect you to have a deposit as well. So based on that, your earnings, that's when they will come to a conclusion how much you can actually borrow for the property. Now, to give you an example, we recently bought a commercial property outright with cash. We now want to refinance it. I was having a conversation with the valuer who came on behalf of the bank to get an understanding really how is it they will be valuing the property, because whatever they do to value the property, that's going to go to the bank, use that valuation report to decide how much mortgage they will give me on the property. So I was having a conversation with the lender, with the surveyor, and he was telling me generally, if it's a commercial property with anchor tenants, they call, these are really large companies that have such a huge turnover, and you know they're not going to mess you about, they're not going to miss their payments. Who could that be? For example, if it's a bank, Barclays Bank, Santander, HSBC, or if it's a big company like Poundland, or Iceland, Tesco, all these are like anchor tenants, they call, that you are sure they're not going to mess you about. They will use generally a 7% cap rate to value your property. Now what I mean by that is, say the rent is £50,000 from the commercial unit. £50,000, they will divide that by 7% cap rate. So divide by 0.07, you're having £714,000. So they're going to value the property at 7% cap rate. It comes to £714,000 using £50,000 rent. Now, same question again. But in this regard, you do not have anchor tenants. Rather, you have just small local businesses with maybe 1 or 2 employees just trying to figure themselves out. And the lenders will class this to be slightly more riskier just because these are small local businesses. So they will not use a 7% cap rate here. Now, in this case, they will use about 8, 9, 10% cap rate in some instances. The riskier it is, the higher the cap rate they will use. So to give you an example, if the rent is £50,000 again, they will use a cap rate of 10%. So divide by 0.1, that is £500,000. So they will value that £500,000, that goes to the lender. The lender will then tell you, hey, because your rent is X amount and the valuation has come to X amount, we will give you a mortgage of 65% loan to value. So if I do that times 0.65, you will get 325k back. So this is just a bit of a brief understanding of how much it is you can borrow on the property. Now, going back to where can you get these mortgages? You can go to your bank. A lot of the big banks, they normally will give you the buy-to-let mortgages. But other thing you can do, especially if you do not have any credit history and your rating might not be so good, you can go to mortgage advisors, because what they will do, they will have access to a panel with 50, 80, hundreds of lenders, private lenders, etc. So you can go to them, they will take all your details and they will go to all these different lenders to get you a mortgage. They will have their fee on it, maybe 1%, 1.5%, but they will make it easier for you to get a mortgage. Now, coming back to the tip I told you in the beginning of the video, is that always plan for what will happen if you do not have any rent coming into your pocket from the property. Because what happens if you have void period, your mortgage payment is £1,000 a month, but you don't have a tenant? Where will you pay from if you don't have savings? That's going to be some bad thing to do, because if you miss your payment, it's going to be logged into your record. You will find it even more difficult to get lending later on. And if it's difficult, the lender who will accept to give you lending, he's going to shoot up the interest rates that you're not going to be making any profit other than the capital appreciation. So you want to plan that ahead, because if you're not saving contingencies, if a tenant leaves and there's maintenance work and there's a mortgage payment you need to make, how will you afford all that? Worst case, the lender takes back the property, sells it in auction. So you want to be aware, you want to be wary of that and cautious to be planning ahead in time. And the last thing I have for you is that if you're thinking that, hey, if I don't have a tenant and I can't afford to pay the mortgage payments, I'm just going to sell the property. Well, you need to remember one thing, that the lender generally, especially if you're fixing your mortgages, they're going to have something known as ERCs. That's early redemption charges. So if you're on a 5-year fixed contract and you want to leave on the second year, generally what I've seen, lenders will have a 5%, 4%, 3%, 2%, 1% early redemption charge. What that means, on the second year, they'll charge you 4%, third year 3%, fourth year 2%, last year 1%. So I hope you get the gist. If the lending is £100,000, on the fourth year they'll charge you 4%, second year they'll charge you 4% and 3, 2, 1. Some lenders might have 3, 2, 0, 0, 0, etc. So you might want to be careful about that. If you're thinking you're going to be selling the property, you're still going to have all these charges to pay. If you're paying all these charges, are you really going to be making any profit? So I hope this information is useful to you. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I do put in a lot of effort to try and make these videos so that they're useful for you in your journey. So please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next video.